Hello everyone, I am the Gamer Musician. My goal is to bring you all the information about something that receives less acclaim in gaming, the music. I figured if I was going to start this series off well, it started off with a bang. So, here they are, the top 10 video game soundtracks of all time. Before I start, I'm going to lay down some ground rules for this list. 1. I'm not going to include any music or rhythm games like SingStar, Guitar Hero, or the It Rhythm Final Fantasy. I decided, after some deliberation, to also allow the definition of the soundtrack to include the songs that weren't originally from the game. Also, one game per franchise, and I have to have actually played the game in question. So if the game's not in this list with awesome soundtracks, leave it in the comments. Perhaps I haven't played it yet. For the penultimate rule, I'm focusing on the overall soundtrack of a game, and basically ignoring the CDs. Games like Brütal Legend have got brutally large soundtracks in the game, but if you look at their companion CDs, there are only 17 songs. For my final rule, this is all my opinion, so if you don't like it, no one cares. Wait, no, I care. Wait, except me, I care. So leave it in the comments, okay? Now, all of the rules are out of the way, so I'm going to get started on the list.
This game is basically an effort in micromanaging everything in a real-life spaceship, including your very own alien crew, laser cannons, and even owning your very own teleportation room. When I started playing the game, I really loved it, and was appreciating how each time it took me a bit longer than the last time to die. It was on my third playthrough when I actually started to notice Ben Prunty's masterpiece, the soundtrack. That's the beauty of the music in this game. It's light, subtle, yet incredibly powerful. Despite its lack of loud, booming orchestral scores, the soundtrack of FTL never overstayed its welcome. I felt that I could listen to the music of this series for hours on end, even when I'm not in game, which I'm going to admit I actually have. Floating through the vast expanses of space, the ambient music in FTL swiftly changed to suit the setting of the game. Battle music became louder with heavier drums, while the rest of the music was quiet and soft. I love this soundtrack, and I know many others do as well. In fact, when speaking to a mate of mine, he said that in his list, FTL would take up numbers 10 to 4.
Upon waking up in Shibuya, Neku Sakuraba is thrown into an epic battle between life and death in the Reaper's game. The music of this game is almost the opposite to that of FTL. Where FTL was quiet and ambient, the music of this game is upbeat and above all, modern. Attempting to follow the trends of the mid-noughties, this game's art style and music are both heavily influenced by youth culture, with music often including things like turntable scratches and bits and pieces of many genres, including hip-hop, electronica, and even some rock. The thing is, even with this bizarre mix of genres, the soundtrack was actually pretty darn good. The music seems to just fit. The music composed by Takaharu Ishimoto seemed to fit the various moods and emotions of all the sections of the wild mix of swirling emotions that is humanity. Well, at least as Square Enix depicts in this outstanding mix and match of moods, genres, and emotions. A friend of mine asked me how long I would last before I included a Nintendo 64 game, and the answer was Out of the 10 games, only 3 of them were for this brilliant console. This is the first, Banjo-Kazooie. This is an interesting one, because half the time you're in this game, you hear the same song, just a different style to fit the setting. The icy section of the castle added sleigh bells and shit, while the section around Clanker's Cavern seemed to have a slightly tinny or metallic element. No one? Grant Kirkhope's soundtrack for this bizarre platform once again fit the setting. When a game gets the soundtrack right, the soundtrack can add a whole new level of depth to the maps in the game. Plus, the castle theme I was talking about before was reminiscent of the old Teddy Bear's Picnic song, which I thought was a nice touch, considering the main character was some kind of bear. The second of the 3 included in this video, this Nintendo 64 hit was bundled with the N64 on release, and it was also the first N64 game I ever owned. I played this game a lot, and the soundtrack of this game was a lot of fun to listen to, with vibrant tunes for some of the happier stages, while in stages like Dire Dire Docks, there's a calmer melody. Also, anyone who doesn't know the Princess's Secret Slide melody, look it up. This melody is a lot of fun to listen to, just like all the others in the game. You really have to hear it. Also, the castle theme seems to just be one that I don't mind running around for hours on end listening to. I had no issues with including this game on the list. So, Super Mario 64, congratulations on achieving another mention on another unheard of channel. Here we go! Imagine Jack Black meets heavy metal meets fantasy world, all wrapped up in interactivishness. Have you thought Brütal Legend yet? Damn it, all you people who said no. Why not? This game is a masterpiece, with an entire world built in the music genre of metal. You go around saving people with the power of your guitar, and find bass strings to save the life of a friend. I mean, there's nothing as metallic as this brutal game. This game's music fits the scene well. Like that scene where you drive the Juice, your car, through the destruction caused by a collapsing tower. Dragon Ball's hit song through the fire and the flames burning along behind you. This music was really just hard, powerful, and epic. And that intro song, one of the songs specifically written for this game, I mean, come on! Plus, the throwbacks to some of the greats of metal, like Lemmy Kilmister, Ozzy Osbourne, and even a skin to make you look like the rock band Kiss. They were definitely a welcome addition to this metalized world. But this is a beautiful game, made back in 2004. It's been 10 years, hence I believe a sequel is in order. Sorry, once again, I digress. Please forgive every Half-Life 3 crack I make. I just want the damn game. Now that my disclaimer is over, the music in this game, composed by the fantastic Kelly Bailey, was often quiet and ambient. The music seemed to mainly feel sad and lonely in this soundtrack, which followed Gordon Freeman, because mostly he was alone. In my opinion, this soundtrack was powerful due to its changing nature. When a large amount of combat soldiers, probably 3 times more than usual, about to storm the small house you found refuge in, you hear the music get louder and more aggressive, but only subtly. This was how it's left its mark. I didn't really notice the game's soundtrack much while playing, but after finishing this game, I realized how much meaning there was in the soundtrack. Plus, Triage at Dawn still makes me cry and feel hopeful all at the same time. That's why Gordon Freeman gets number 5. We can only hope that Half-Life 3's soundtrack is better than this one. When the ex-soldier, not ex-soldier, semi-clone, confused as hell emo, Cloud Strife, starts to go on his journey around the land no one knows the name of, Square Enix realized they needed some good music to fit the first PSX Final Fantasy game. I personally love this game and its soundtrack. Walking around Luna Park, which for all of you Americans is the only theme park in Sydney, that city in Australia with kangaroos, I literally walked around for 3 hours humming the Gold Saucer theme. When trying to decide what to put in number 4, I seriously was wondering whether to choose FF7 or FF8. But then I got to the section of FF8 in space, and physically cried at how bad that song was. Other people may like it, but I actually had tears streaming down my face. So FF7 it was. Music of FF7 and FF8 are different, but FF7 wins for me. So the Highwind theme, it's pretty damn cool, but there are a lot of memorable songs. Plus, the fact that each member of the party gets their own theme song was definitely a nice addition. Third installment to the highly successful Super Smash Bros. Franchise. This game features a ridiculous soundtrack. And when I say this soundtrack is ridiculous, it really is. Just in sheer grandeur. The soundtrack is almost 7.5 hours long. In the in-game music player option, there are heaps of songs from many franchises, with many originals and remixes, with the remixes pointed out. And not rubbishy remixes either. Each and every remix runs pretty true to the original songs. And plus, most of the tracks from Melee also got included in the music player. With a real all-star cast of composers as well, including Koji Kondo and Yoko Shimomura, the soundtrack was just long and epic. The powerful soundtrack was all a lot of fun to listen to while jumping around the stage, slashing, firing, punching, or magicking. In any case, the detail in this soundtrack is there, despite the fact that it's hard to notice for some things, including recordings for each character to speak through the Wii Remote's small speakers, or the fact that each franchise has their own short victory jingle when a character from that series wins a match. Of course, in my household the most common of those jingles is that of the mother franchise. No one can match me when I start Lucasing. This game is, subjectively, my favourite game, with a soundtrack composed by one of my favourite game composers, Yoko Shimomura. For anyone unfamiliar to the Kingdom Hearts series, they usually focus around a boy named Sora and his friends Donald and Goofy, as they fly around in their spaceship to worlds with versions of Disney movies which have been changed to accommodate the added characters. The soundtrack for the game is really well composed, with the music really capturing the mood of the movies and worlds. The songs for Agrabah, the world for Aladdin, are more Arabic themed, while the music Destiny Islands is tropical and sounds something like you'd hear in a cliched Hawaiian movie. It was also pretty cool to hear remixes of the songs from the movies as background tracks in their respective worlds, such as from The Nightmare Before Christmas, and from The Little Mermaid. I love this soundtrack because, well, it's just great to listen to, and each song fits the setting and world really well. I can only hope someone hasn't impatiently put a comment up already asking where a Zelda game is. And if they have, well, they obviously forgot to check number 1. Gerudo Valley, Song of Storms, Epona's Song, Zelda's Lullaby, Lost Woods. I'm finished. Wait, why are there still words in the script? Oh, I do have more to say. Okay. Third of the Nintendo 64 games in this list, Ocarina of Time is a damn good game, with an equally good soundtrack. I mean, those songs I said before are the most famous, and even obscure people on the far reaches of the internet, I'm talking about me, can talk about them. And in my case, I can play 4 of the 5 songs I just mentioned on my equally obscure instrument, the cornets. Yeah, that one. If you've ever heard of a cornet before, please post it in the comment. It'd be an extremely welcome surprise. But even the rest of the soundtrack, those dungeon themes no one talks about, and also all of the less famous teleportation songs, all of them have had such love imbued into them. They all matched their settings. Unlike many other games of the time, Koji Kondo wrote a song for each dungeon, matching the element of each dungeon. Plus, the way the dungeon themes, well, in my opinion, seem to get darker after, spoiler alert, the time skip. If that spoiler ruined your life, I gave a warning. But seriously, Koji Kondo's feat of brilliance, I tip my hat to you. So, that was my debut video. I've got a ton of other ideas of things to do, so click on any of these options as they appear, if you think you'd want to actually see them take place. I follow what the fans, at the moment that's definitely a joke, want, so if there are any of these things you want to see, click them. Idea 1. You know that corner thing I was telling you about before? Well, I can film myself playing game music. I do claim to be the gamer musician after all. Idea 2. I'll put up more top 10 videos like this one. Well, that wasn't really a new idea, but what the hey. Well, that's all from me this time, so come back next time for some more game music themed videos from the Gamer Musician.